Hello, this is Kenny Williamson, and welcome back to the Melchizedek Chronicles. In this episode today, I would like to talk a little bit about UFOs and occult relations. If you pay attention to the news at all these days, you've probably noticed that Mars is a topic for discussion. We supposedly have several rovers on Mars now. We have one that's on Mars now that has recently taken a selfie of itself. So Mars is one of those things they want to talk about. They claim we're going to colonize it. They spend lots of money on it, looking for alien life. I say supposedly because I don't believe it. I don't believe there are any rovers on Mars. But I digress on that topic at the moment. We'll cover that in a later episode about some of the fake stuff going on. I believe to be fake anyway. But on this particular episode, I was just going to make notice that, aliens and Mars and stuff is popular. It's a very popular belief. Used to, it was very unpopular. If you claim that you believe in aliens or that you've been abducted or anything like that, you were basically labeled a fool. You would never admit in a million years that, you believed in it because people thought you were crazy. However, that's changed. Now, this started a long time ago. This isn't new. And I have some examples here. For example, like everybody's heard of the Tesla, right? We've all heard of a Tesla car, how wonderful that is. But they have come up with the name Tesla, from the guy Nikola Tesla. And he was supposedly a genius in his time, and he claimed to be a genius, but his claim to success was receiving messages from these aliens and other things is what gave him this information, and he had dreams about it or whatever. So in 1901, Nikola Tesla, he made the claim that he is receiving radio communications from Mars. That's what he claimed. He told that to the Times in 1901. Okay. Now, Nikola Tesla also promised communication with Mars, and he told that to the Times in 1901 as well. This was not just him saying this. Of course, Popular Science published in May of 1919, they said, "Are messages coming from Martians frantically trying to communicate with us? Perhaps one might reason the Martians have had time to evolve into creatures intellectually far superior to ourselves." Of course, if you've listened to anything that I've said before, you know that I don't believe in evolution. I believe that it's fake science. And this is one of those things where this ties into it, where, basically a century ago, they're trying to claim that Martians have evolved into what they are. And, of course, now we have probes on Mars, rovers on Mars. And it's been years ago, but they came out with the life on Mars and claimed that a rock had come from Mars and hit the Earth, and they found a fossilized bacteria on it, and that was the headline. The headlines read, life on Mars. I remember Bill Clinton was talking about it. So this has been a while back. Come to find out, after everything settled and NASA got their grant money, which is what they were looking for, come to find out this rock was found right here on Earth. It was found like at the North or either the South Pole. I can't remember which one. But suffice to say, it was not found on Mars. It was not gathered from Mars. It was found here on Earth. They claimed it was from Mars, and then later on it's discovered that the bacteria on there is actually just a crystal. It's not bacteria at all. It's right here from Earth. So basically, my point is we've been at this for many years. The government has claimed some stuff and it got discounted, but now, interest in UFOs and aliens are growing more and more every day. It seems like that's in the headlines all the time, is more and more declassified files are coming out that prove the existence of UFOs. So, one could say that, if life exists on other planets, God probably created it, so there's nothing wrong with it. Well, there's two ways to look at that. I'm going to go with that's probably false, because I believe in the Holy Bible. I believe that it is the infallible Word of God. And the Holy Bible states that earth was created in 6 days, and on the seventh day rested. Now, in that 6 days, it says that the stars and everything were created. So that means they were created at the same time. And then he goes on to talk about how he created man. Now, in Genesis 3:20, it says, "And Adam called his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all living." So right in Genesis, it states that Eve is the mother of all living. So if you believe that, how can you believe that there are aliens running around on other planets when the planets were created all at the same time as Earth? So I just think it's ridiculous. I think it's a way to bring about a false lie, which is what I want to talk about. Because we have in Matthew 24, says, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they would even deceive the very elect." So I believe these signs and wonders are going to continue, and they're going to get worse and worse and worse, or more frequent, right up until the return of Christ. So what I think is that the world has been being primed for many years, getting people warmed up to the idea these aliens exist. And so what we have scientists who actually believe in the occult and are probably talking to demons. They think that we're in communication with Martians, when in actuality all they're doing is talking to demons. For example, we take Thomas Edison. Everybody's heard of Thomas Edison, a great scientist, invented all these things, the telephone, you name it. But before he died, he was working on a machine to talk to dead people, or people on the other side, as he called it. According to the American Magazine, which was published in 1920, he said he was working on a spirit phone that would let the living communicate with the dead. So now, this is a scientist saying that. He thinks he can communicate with the dead on a phone, a telephone, okay? So Edison also was endorsing work. There was an Italian scientist named Marconi. He was actually working on some stuff, and he claims that he was receiving signals from planets. And Edison went on to say that he thought there was good indications that these occupants of the planets are trying to signal to us. So these guys have been pushing for over 100 years that these aliens are trying to communicate with us, and we're just too dumb to understand because, they're so much highly evolved than us. They can do it and we can't. So it really makes a person want to evolve. That's what they're teaching, is we're going to evolve a little further. So, in case you didn't know, Israel became a nation again in 1948. Now, they started talking about this before 1940, like in 1947, and they finally got it pushed through. But since Israel has become a nation, we've seen an upkick in these demonic manifestations. Lots of stuff seems like it has ramped up since then. Right around that same time as Israel became a nation, we have the Roswell, New Mexico incident, where supposedly an alien spacecraft crashed over there and they have some alien beings, and it's like the first big one that they talk about. It's right around the same time Israel starts becoming a nation. And when you go back in the Bible, back to, I think it's 70 AD, when they were talking about, Israel, lots of strange things started happening back then before they started rebuilding it. So this is a theme. Anytime something starts happening over there in Israel, we see an upkick in these manifestations, and that's because, Israel is God's kingdom over there. He's going to have his throne over there. The temple is going to be rebuilt over there. It's prophesied in Daniel. That temple is going to be rebuilt, and the Antichrist is going to take over it, and he's going to set up the abomination of desolation. Now, my question has been for years, how does this Antichrist manage to fool everybody, to take in the mark of the beast, to fool everybody into following him in the first place? And the Bible talks about how he has a wound and he's healed from the wound, and he performs these miracles, and he brings about all this peace, and people are just amazed by it. And I've thought that many times, thinking, well, who in the world could this Antichrist be? Because, we get all these people and nobody can perform miracles or signs or nothing. So how's this person going to do it and pull it off? I mean, we know that it's the Antichrist doing it, so we know it's really the devil. But how is he going to fool people into thinking that it's just a man doing it? Well, my theory is maybe he doesn't have to fool anybody into thinking it's a man. Maybe at that point we think that it's an alien. I mean, think about it. We've got all these officials now, and I'm going to go over some of those, who are saying we have been in contact with these aliens. It's no longer just a TV show type thing. This is real. The Pentagon knows it. The CIA knows it. The president knows it. They claim that we are in communication. So when is it going to become the next step where these aliens show up where the whole world can see them? And then it makes you wonder, because we've been primed with the movies for all these years, are we going to have good aliens and bad aliens? That's another theory I'll talk about here in just a minute. So I personally think, some of these things people see, they can be dismissed as natural, just some natural occurrence. But I believe, and Christians are supposed to believe, in a spiritual world. So we believe that there are angels and there are devils. They do exist. And I believe they're starting to manifest themselves more and more in a greater way. And so some of this stuff cannot be explained naturally. We're actually seeing stuff that's supernatural. And that really shouldn't be a surprise to a Christian. So we have movies. We've had movies for years. Alien movies. Most people just think that it's a Hollywood movie and they go on. But what we have now is we even have Catholics talking about it. For example, we have Father Jose Funes, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's the Jesuit director of the Vatican Observatory, and he was quoted as saying, "The vastness of the universe means it's possible that there could be other forms of life outside Earth, even intelligent ones." He said this does not contradict our faith, because extraterrestrials would just be God's creatures that he created. So it's okay. They exist, or they could, no big deal. Now, he didn't mention anything about the evolution thing, but, when they show up in a spaceship, that's going to be the next thing. Well, obviously, they've clearly evolved way past us. So we have right there, the Vatican supports it. And if that wasn't bad enough, we have Pope Francis in 2015. He was asked about the existence of aliens, and he said, in part, and I quote because it's not an exact quote, but he said that he did not know if aliens existed, but in every case, he thinks we should stick to what the scientists tell us. So that right there kind of shows you what it is. And this is how they're going to pull this off. We have religious leaders today that are basically telling you if the scientists say it's real, it's real. And you can see that now, of course, with this whole pandemic going on, is there's a coming together of Republicans, Democrats, religious leaders, and they're all saying the same thing. You better do and say exactly what a scientist tells you. You better believe every word they say, because it's science. See, science is the new thing where science trumps everything. Of course, as you already know, I don't even believe it to be real science. It's pseudoscience. It's fake science. They don't have any proof to back any of this stuff up, but they have the media behind them. They have Hollywood behind them. And obviously, they've got the Vatican behind them. So anything they say goes. And if you doubt it, well, then you're somehow against science, even though we all know that it's pseudoscience. In this particular report here, we have a former Israeli space security chief. He says extraterrestrials exist, and Trump knows about it. Supposedly, a galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where they can understand. The UFOs have asked not to publish they're here because humanity's not ready yet. So, they're saying Trump knows about it in this particular article. And of course, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not necessarily a pro-Trump guy. I was a pro-Trump guy. I mean, I voted for Trump. However, you have to understand that this government, and this is not Trump versus Biden, this is all government, is being controlled by the Antichrist. All of it, including Trump. So for them to mention and say he even knows about it, Trump himself knows about it. Trump is the one who started this new space force. He's got a new space force. So, it's hard to tell who's in on it and who's not, but I would wager that all of them are in on it in some form or another. So just to kind of go over what they're claiming nowadays, they're actually claiming that it's real. So they have, for example, we've got a Harvard professor says aliens have visited in 2017 and there are more coming. He told this to the New York Post in 2021. On military.com, we have astronaut Edgar Mitchell said that he believed that aliens averted a nuclear war. And he also claimed that the top military officials have hidden evidence of UFOs from the American people. But, if that's true that he believes that, he actually believes that they averted a nuclear war. So they've already saved us once, in other words. I'm sure they'll conveniently show up at the right time to save us again. In a DNI report in 2021, they claim that there were 11 near misses with UFOs recorded by military pilots. They also said that the UFO's tech is so beyond our understanding that these UFOs are monitoring us and they're monitoring the U.S. military and everything else. So they're putting out there that these things are real and they're out there watching us and they're even helping us, just secretly behind the scenes. Obama was asked about it, and he said if aliens showed up, there would be no doubt immediate arguments about we need to spend a lot more money on weapon systems to defend ourselves. So right there you have it. Obama himself said, we need to spend more money on weapons to defend ourselves. So I'm assuming that means he's implying that these aliens, bad aliens, that we actually have to defend ourselves from them. So that right there tells me we're going to have a fake stage set with fake mean aliens, fake bad guys. And the reason I'm even talking about that is in Revelation, in the Bible, back to Revelation 19, we see that the beast, it says that the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gather together to make war with Jesus upon his return. So my question is, who in their right mind would try to fight Jesus coming down from heaven with his army? Can you imagine that? Jesus is coming down to earth and armies, kings and armies, of course they're being goaded on by the beast, so the Antichrist is standing right there, but who would do it? Who would actually say, well, there's Jesus, well, he is real. There's no way I'm going to lift a hand to fight him because he's here. Well, what if you don't know that it's Jesus? What if you've been told that we're being invaded by aliens? Obviously, the day of the Lord comes after the rapture. Okay, so picture this. You're a Christian and, or you claim to be a Christian or you're just a person, whatever, and all these Christians disappear. The rapture happens and millions of people disappear without a trace. And the government, has to come up with an explanation. They're not going to tell you, hey, yes, God is real and these people have been raptured out. It's a miracle. No, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you something completely opposite because they don't want you to believe it. They don't want you to believe that these people have been raptured up to heaven. That's ludicrous because, then everything they're telling you about evolution and stuff is clearly false. So they don't want you to know that. So I think they're going to say, you know what? These people were abducted. Because up to the point before we get to the rapture, they're going to come out with even more alien stuff. And we're bound to have good aliens and bad aliens. And we'll probably be told that there are good aliens fighting bad aliens out in space. And these bad aliens, they've been coming to Earth sneaking in here all these years, and they're the ones that abducted the children that are missing. They're the ones that took all these people away that are in the rapture, but supposedly aliens took them. All these cattle mutilations and all this bizarre stuff that's happened all these years, those are the bad aliens. And so now here we have some good aliens here. Of course, these good aliens will actually be demons and the Antichrist. They're going to be masquerading around as good aliens. And then when Jesus Christ himself shows up, these demons and the Antichrist are going to claim that Jesus is the bad aliens. They're going to say, hey, we're being invaded. These are the bad guys, so you need to fight them. Obama here, he thinks we should be armed up to the teeth to fight them. And so now you guys need to fight this alien invasion. When in actuality, it's Jesus Christ coming down from heaven. And, of course, people are going to find out real fast that, no amount of weapons is going to stop what he's going to do. So, but doesn't that sound like something that could be logical? How else and why else would anybody actually take up arms against Jesus Christ himself? Who in their right mind would do that? But if you're duped into thinking, oh man, there's some aliens and we can actually fight them because we got a good alien here telling us how to do it, and we'll just do it. But the thing is, to get to that point, you have got to have people 100% convinced that aliens are real. And so I think it's going to be just like it was in Jesus' day. In Jesus' day, we had the Pharisees and we had the Sadducees. And normally, they butted heads. They didn't get along. The same as Pilate and Herod didn't get along. But whenever they have a common enemy like Jesus, see, then they can both come together to fight a common enemy. And I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to have Democrats, Republicans, and scientists and religious people. They're all going to come together to fight something what they think is a common threat. In this case, would probably be the aliens. Of course, this is exactly what I've said in a previous episode. It talks about propaganda. That's what this is propaganda. We have the leaders telling you a lie. And they're telling you a lie, and they're releasing this information that's supposedly real. They're releasing just enough to whet your appetite, just enough to keep you interested, just enough to keep you following along with them. And as they keep doing this and keep talking about it, and the CIA and the president, everybody's talking about it, and nobody's denying it. They all say it's real. And then the movies in Hollywood, they're pumping it out as fast as they can. Alien this, alien that, alien contacts. Pretty soon people are going to say, well, yeah, of course I believe in aliens. It's pretty obvious they exist. That's what people have heard their entire lives. It's been in the movies, for example, for years. And these movies have been, in my opinion, priming you. They're priming you to kind of, get your mind thinking about aliens. So when you thought you were just watching a movie, you're actually watching a detailed propaganda. It's detailed propaganda from people who actually have a plan. Now, these people are being controlled by the Antichrist. I believe that Antichrist already has full control of Hollywood and the media and basically the government. They have full control over it. So when one starts talking about it, the others just come out with it too. And of course, like in Hollywood, they make movies, they're probably making money. So yeah, if they make money off of it at the same time they're spreading their propaganda, well, hey, man, that's great. We're going to tell you a big fat lie to get you thinking about this, and we're going to take your money while we're doing it. So according to a recent Gallup poll, we have now that a third of Americans believe that some of the UFOs are indeed alien spacecraft. So they think that, some of them are aliens, some of them are probably the government. And then we have 3/4 of Americans believe that there is some sort of life that exists elsewhere in the universe. In 2 Thessalonians, it says, because people have not received the love of the truth, that they might be saved, it says, because they won't receive this love, and for this cause, God shall send them a strong delusion that they should believe a lie. So I believe that this UFOlogy is part of that delusion. I believe that it's a delusion and it's a lie, and that people will be tricked into believing it. And because they have nothing else to believe in. They don't want to believe in the Bible. They don't want to believe in anything like that. They believe in evolution. So, I mean, that's just a perfect step. You teach evolution all the way from a child, all the way growing up. You teach it through college. You test them on it. You try to pretend it's real. You try to pretend it's science when actually it's fake science. And then when these aliens showed up, well, you're going to say, oh, well, even if they're from Earth or whatever, they've just evolved. They've evolved more somehow. So you're going to throw evolution back into it. Still, no God. And so now we've got aliens, no God. I mean, it's going to absolutely be a heyday for the Antichrist. I mean, he just kicked back. He's got them believing there's no God. He got you believing that, you came from a monkey. You came from a rock. And now we've got these other beings out there. And it's not God that, put man on Earth. It's aliens. Aliens came here years ago and, put their DNA down or seeded the Earth or whatever it is they're calling it these days. And in here pretty soon, these aliens are going to return. They're going to show back up. And of course, just like everything else, we've got good aliens and bad aliens, and they're going to start fighting. And so you're going to have to pick a side. But in actuality, it's demonic. It's devils putting on a show for you just to get you looking the other direction, to get you completely away from what's actually happening. And then when Jesus himself does show up, you'll be so deluded by that point, you won't believe it. Jesus Christ himself comes down from heaven on a white horse and you don't believe it. You think it's an alien. I mean, that sounds pretty logical to me. Of course, I know some people will probably think that I'm crazy for believing that. I'm not the only one that believes it. And I have a little snippet from a guy named John Keel. He wrote this article in 1970, and it's called UFOs, Operation Trojan Horse. And of course, we know what a Trojan horse is. Trojan horse, you wheel the thing in, you think it's a horse, a gift, and there's something hidden inside of it that attacks you later on. They use the Trojan horse to get into your facility secretly. So he says the endless messages from the space people would now fill a library. And while the communications claim to represent some other world, the contents of those messages are identical to the messages long received by mediums and mystics. The demons, devils, and false angels were recognized as plunderers by early man. These same imposters appear now as aliens. So dabbling with UFOs can be as dangerous as dabbling with black magic. The Bible warns us that during the last days, this planet will be overrun with wonders in the sky and false prophets and performers of miracles. And the Bible talks all about that. So I've often wondered how these people are going to pull this off. How are you going to perform pulling miracles off and knowing all this stuff and possibly peace treaties and healing people and curing diseases? Well, you can't do that as a man. I mean, you could, but people are going to have a hard time buying that, I think. But you get them believing in aliens, and, you have an alien show up on the White House lawn like all the movies show, and, you buddy up with the aliens, and the alien says he can cure you and starts curing people and shows, all of a sudden does some miracles and says, looky here, I can do this. And it broadcast over the whole entire world for everybody to see. There's going to be a lot of people believe it. A lot of people. I mean, probably every unsaved person out there is going to believe it. I mean, they've got hope. That's going to be like, wow, there's actually aliens out there and they're finally here, and finally we can get rid of these nutty Christians that are running around here believing in fake gods. I knew it all along. We came from a monkey and the aliens did it. They're going to really think they're smart, and they're going to follow them and do everything they say. And they're going to follow them right down into the devil's hell. That's where they're going to go. They're going to follow him and believe him. And then when he starts saying, hey, I want you to worship me, he's going to set himself up in the temple over there. Of course, they're going to kick the Jews out of it. I'm sure at that point they're going to say, well, why would we want these silly Jews running around here in this temple when we've got these aliens here, these Martians? Well, they're smart. They're so evolved, and they can cure us. They can help us. They've got peace. We need to do exactly what they say. And then when he sets himself up right there in the temple, with the abomination of desolation. Only God knows what he's going to do, I guess. I mean, we don't know for sure what this abomination is going to be, but he's going to set himself up, and then he's going to implement the mark of the beast, just like it says, and people are going to do it. And I'm sure this mark of the beast is going to be some kind of, something these aliens are 100% behind, something that's going to help you, it's just going to be great. And, so then when Jesus finally does show up to put an end to this mess, you're going to pick up your gun and try to fight him. You're going to want him dead because you think he's an alien. I mean, that's my theory. And so that's what this whole message was about. It's just, kind of gets you thinking about in the same direction. I mean, it may not be the case. I have no proof of that. This is just my theory. But, to me, it makes a lot of sense. And we've got to come up with something. The government's got to come up with a way to hide the rapture, to hide the second coming. You got to figure out a way to fool everybody. I mean, the Bible says these people are going to be under a strong delusion, and the delusion is going to be so strong, and that even the elect themselves could be fooled. I mean, it's going to be that convincing. So we're going to have something really far out there, in my opinion, to be able to convince the masses of all this stuff. And I think it's already here. I think it's UFOlogy. So, you can tell me what you think. We have an email. It's truthseekers2012@gmail.com. So truthseekers2012@gmail.com. You can send an email and ask questions or ask about something. Maybe we can do a show over it, or questions, comments, whatever you want. But so yeah, that's what I think is coming. Now keep in mind, you can get saved and you can avoid that. I do believe, like the Bible teaches, if you accept Jesus Christ into your heart and get saved, you will be one of the ones raptured up. You won't have to mess with any of that stuff. You won't have to worry about a lot of that stuff because you won't be here. And let's say, for example, a lot of stuff does happen and all this stuff, weird stuff is happening. Once you're saved, your eyes should be opened to a lot of this supernatural stuff going on, where you will be able to recognize, hey, wait a second, that's not real. I know better than that. Once you're saved, the Holy Spirit can come into you and open up your eyes and mind to the reality of what's going on around you, so you're not one of those people living a lie and living in a fake delusion. So you might want to think about that. I mean, it's like anything else. This whole salvation, it's free. You don't have to do anything for it. You don't get to work for it because there's nothing you could do to earn it. And you don't have to be super good to do it. I mean, obviously, there's no amount of good works or righteousness you can do. It says right in there, your righteousness is like filthy rags to God. So there's no amount of good works, and you can't be good enough to do it. So you have to accept it by grace through faith. That's it. You just have to accept it. It's a free gift, and it's like anything else. If you don't want to accept a free gift, I mean, nobody's going to force it. Nobody's going to force it on you, but you will pay for it in the end. So have a good day. Thank you for listening. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments, just please feel free to email me at truthseekers2012@gmail.com. And that is what our goal is here, is for the truth. We want to speak the truth and get the truth out there. God bless you.